Welcome to Chicago Bulls Chat with C-Red UK. This podcast is part of the Fans First Sports Network. Wherever or however you're listening, make sure to rate, review and subscribe. It helps us out and means you never miss another episode. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave some comments for us to get back to. And for all the C-Red UK action, check out the Discord channel and across the socials. Now, over to your hosts, Matt Hearn and Neil Dunn.
Welcome back. I'm Matt, and as usual, joined by Neil. How are we doing, Neil?
I'm very good. I'm better than you. I'm not still trying to fight off this man flu that's attacked you.
Yeah, 3 weeks now, and it's just not good.
That's crazy. See, this is the difference between man flu and woman flu. Woman flu, they're over it in 24 hours. Man flu, it's a whole other ball game.
Yeah, it's the same as pregnancy, isn't it? And the whole pain threshold and being kicked in the bits and stuff, you know. No man ever says, I enjoyed that, let's do it again. But women say, you know, so what's more painful?
Yeah, exactly.
As you can tell from that little bit there, there's nothing going on with Bulls. We're literally just talking. And on that note, we've got a special guest joining us tonight who does a lot of talking. And it's actually our third time guest. And the first time on video. So we've had him in two different sort of variations of audio before, and we finally got him on video, and that person is Tim Sinclair, the Chicago Bulls PA, or public announcer, for want of a better word. So yeah, I'll send it to the merch ad, and then we'll be back, and Tim will be with us. Help support the podcast and the brand at C-Red UK by heading to our merch site, where you'll find a variety of designs on things like mugs, t-shirts and hoodies, including our Bulls Ellis and Flop of the Fro, with plenty more designs still to come. Link is in the description.
So here we are with Tim Sinclair, the man, the voice, the legend. He's joined us again, and it's the first time joining us by video, right, Tim?
I think it is, actually. Now that you say that, we've done a couple of audio ones, but now I get to see your shiny faces for the next hour or so. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been looking forward to getting you on so that we can actually see you as well as just talk to you. It's been great. And you actually are the center of our starting point as well, because when we first started doing this, it was through Stump, which is your program.
Yeah, we made connections because of the Bulls and because of some recording technology, and the match was perfect. I'm so glad it got you guys started, and it's been fun to follow your progress. And I'm still a fan and a listener, and glad that we get a chance to talk every once in a while.
Excellent. And of course, I got to finally meet you face to face when I was in Chicago there in March.
That's right. It's we'll have to do that more often, I hope. But it was really good to have you in town, and I hope you enjoyed your time and that the Bulls made you feel welcome.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that, actually. I think I mentioned to you that my daughter was a big Alex Caruso fan. So, of course, she's heartbroken now because I'd promised to bring her over the upcoming season to see Alex play for the Bulls. And now, of course, he's gone. However, I'm a man of my word when it comes to my kids. So I'm actually going to bring her over for the home opener so she can still see Alex play. But unfortunately, it will be in the wrong jersey.
I was going to say, you're going to have to choose which game very carefully. And I think there's only one, and it was the first game of the year. So you got to hustle. Good for you.
Yeah, so we'll be over in October. So hopefully we can say hi then.
I hope so.
Okay, so first of all, Tim, give us a bit of an idea of what you've been getting up to during the off season.
Yeah, my off season is comprised of a few different things. I do soccer in Chicago, so the Chicago Fire of the MLS. I'm in my 11th season with them, so there's 18 to 20 matches that happen kind of between March and October. And there's a number of international matches that happen here too, so I've gotten to do Real Madrid and a few other clubs that have come through Chicago. So I've enjoyed getting to do that, but also have a little bit of downtime. We've got 4 kids between my wife and I, 2 little girls and 2 older boys. And so a lot of time is spent trying to hang out with them when they're off of school and find a trip or two to go on and just enjoy downtime that really doesn't exist the rest of the year for me. It's a lot of, I've got to hand it to my wife Sarah and to the kids, who are all very understanding and very gracious with my time. Now my boys, who are 15 and 17, get to go to a lot of games, so they get bribed to be good. But we try to spend a lot of time together if we can during the summer.
Yeah, actually, when I was over, I went to that Chicago Fire game. You came down and said hi. You had one of your sons with you then as well.
Yep. They go to a lot of games, and they get to sit in my seats, which is great. They're old enough now that I don't feel like, at a certain point in my career, I couldn't just leave them by themselves in the arena. And so I always had to get my parents or a friend or somebody else to kind of watch them. But now they're old enough that they can go to games, and they started sitting on my lap in the press box of football games and soccer matches. And so I've been doing it a long time. They don't really know anything different, but now they get to kind of be teenagers and do their own thing. And that's been really great.
That's awesome. And you had a bit of fun with me as well, of course, when I was there, sticking the camera on me and my friend Finn that were at the game.
Yeah, I know the right people to talk to get cameras on the people I know that are in the arena. So I'm glad you got some FaceTime.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That was good fun. Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to talk about, kind of, it's still within the realm of basketball, but it's a little bit different, and something maybe people don't know about you so much, and you can kind of see a little bit of it there in the background. But you've got a hobby that you're very much into, that I'm also into, which is trading cards, right? I know you have your Cardy in the USA page that you do, but you've also got involved in a TV show about trading cards, right?
Yeah, it was completely unexpected. And just I did TV in a past life, and I do sports cards with my boys now as a hobby. And the Stadium Network came up and said, "Hey, we're starting a show about the hobby, and we would like for you to be a part of it if you're interested." And they knew I'd been in TV, that it was a fan of cards, and obviously I know sports, and so it was kind of a perfect marriage. And they've gotten to do a lot of fun things. Went to the National Card Show in Cleveland this summer with my boys, so we get to do that together. And it's been I can't gamble on any sporting events. That's frowned upon by all the different teams and leagues I work for. But this is kind of a way that I can use my sports knowledge to make picks. But instead of betting on games, I'm picking a card or a player or a team or a set or something that I think might go up in value over time. And sometimes I'm going to hold them for a long term and make money down the road. Sometimes it's a quick flip, but it's fun for me to use what I know and what I love to hopefully make a little money. But ultimately, it's a hobby. So you win some and you lose some, and you just have a good time doing it.
That's cool. And the Bulls don't have any issue with you kind of having a PC, personal collection of Bulls players. They're okay with that?
Oh, no. Yeah, there's no issue there. IO is my PC. I obviously, we've talked about this. I called all those games in college, and I've done all those games in the pros now. And so he's kind of the one that I feel like I almost don't remember a day where I was going to a basketball game and he wasn't playing in some way, shape, or form. So that's been fun. The ones behind me are just sort of classic rookie cards that I'm going to keep a little longer term. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Steph Curry and some of those guys. But I have a decent IO collection. Some might say over the top, but I like it. So it's been good.
Did you see the story about Giannis apparently bidding $1 million for? You're not going to compete with him then?
No. There's for those who don't know the story, Topps is putting out the first ever triple auto with Steph and LeBron and somebody.
KD.
And so there's only one of them, and so there's a number of people who've put out like bounties on this card for whoever gets it. They'll pay. It started at 150,000, then went to 250,000. I think Giannis is kind of coming over the top at $1 million. So we'll see what happens with it, but it's fun to see athletes paying attention to the hobby. I've gotten to interview some of them in the course of my work with the TV show, mainly baseball players, but there are guys in every sport and girls in every sport who collect, and it's always fun to connect with them when you get the chance.
Yeah. And I saw obviously Josh Giddey, obviously newly to the Bulls. He put on his Instagram story. He had a big box, looked like rookie cards or whatever, and he obviously was signing them and stuff like that. So, obviously not in Bulls uniform. He was in his OKC uniform. So, is that going to be one for your collection at any point?
You know, I've tried to go. Maybe I'm going to get one nice card of the players that I've called. The problem is once you start collecting, you could collect in theory everything, and then it overtakes your life and it ruins your bank account and all sorts of things. So I'm trying to collect things that, one, I love, but that two, I have a story with. So, for example, Giddey, after a year or two, I will probably buy one of his cards to keep for my personal collection, a nice one. I've got a bunch of random ones, but a nicer one to keep in my collection just as a story piece. So in 10 or 15 years, when you're talking with your kids or your grandkids or whoever, you can share a story that goes with that card. But I'm not going to get into it like I got into it with Io. That's a one and done thing for him. I don't see anybody taking his spot for that. But I try to, and around me looking in my office here, I've got a number of things that I have a story with every single one. Each of the basketballs behind me is from one of the All-Star games I've worked. Yeah. The video games are the video games I'm in. I've got signed pictures or team photographs that, is of a player, but it's autographed, and then I'm in the background of the picture. So I try to do that kind of stuff because it allows me to tell a story or have a memory of something rather than just collecting for collecting's sake.
Very good. You haven't got your Michael Jordan Fleer rookie card yet, have you?
You know what? I had one for a while.
Did you?
I did. It was graded a PSA 6. I had someone who gave it to me sort of in lieu of payment for some work I had done for them. And about 4 or 5 months in, I'm like, okay, I've owned it, but technically this was a paycheck. And so I need to convert it to such. And I sold it, and I'll get one again sometime, but I don't have one currently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think chances of me ever owning one of those is pretty slim.
Yeah, I don't know when I'll get one again, but it was nice to have for those few months.
Very good. So I suppose moving a little bit more towards the Bulls then. You told us before when we had you on that you had a particularly strong connection with certain players, and you had a few great little anecdotes and stories about them. And there's been quite a few changes in the Bulls over this off season, of course. So there's two players in particular that I was just going to ask you I'm not going to ask you about the trades. I'm not going to ask you about anything like that. That's all old rope at this stage. But what are you personally going to miss about the likes of Caruso and DeMar?
Yeah, DeMar would be more, well, I guess both personal and professional. Like, he was always kind and would often sit down on the scorer's table right in front of me and our official scorer and tie his Kobe's and joke about what he was, what coffee he was drinking or how tired they were from the night before or whatever. He just was a very personable guy. And then obviously we all watched him play on the court. And the number of times I was like, oh, like, how did that go in, or how did he pull that off? Like, just both sides of the picture for him, I'm going to miss incredibly, and it's going to be a special, albeit difficult, night when Sacramento comes back to Chicago. It'll be very, very good to see him again, though. For Alex, there wasn't as much interaction. Not that he isn't a nice person. He's just kind of like Io and some others, just very laser focused on, I'm coming out, I'm going to warm up, I'm going back to the locker room, I'm coming out, I'm going to play and leave. So I didn't have as much of that with him, but the hustle and heart and determination he gave. And then I would say this, more than anybody I've ever watched play, he was in tune with what the other team was doing. And I know we've talked about being a coach on the floor. He was definitely that. But he would either read the lips or watch the coach of the other team yell into his guys what they were doing. He would know exactly what that meant and relay it to his guys and to Billy Donovan so that everybody knew what they should be doing and what they needed to defend, because at least he had studied it and knew what that meant. or he'd walk into a huddle and just sort of listen in to what they're saying, and then he'd walk away and go tell his guys. And just a consummate coach, but on the floor as a player who gave everything. So we're definitely going to miss him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, we've asked you before about my guy, Javonte Green. Obviously, unexpectedly, we got him back for, was it 10 games at the end of the season? Obviously, now officially with Pelicans. Did you actually fist bump him this time, or did you leave him hanging again?
It only happened the one time, thankfully. I'm not surprised you all remembered that. But yeah, he's been easily just the most fun, interactive, joking, obviously great player, but was very, very personable and very, very enjoyable to be around. So I'm thankfully I only offended him the one time, and I did get it eventually. It just I made him wait a little bit longer than I should have.
And another player who's left that seems a bit of a character was Andre Drummond. You know, you see him on the broadcast, sort of shadow boxing with Zach and stuff like that. Do you think he's going to be a big miss, like obviously around the team? And
I do. I don't know what his locker room personality was like. It always on the court seemed like he was having fun, and the other guys enjoyed being with him. But we will miss a guy who could rebound like he did. You know, the Bulls, as we all know, are very guard heavy. And so we've got Vooch and a bunch of 6'5" and 6'6" guys for the most part. So having somebody of Andre's rebounding caliber, I'm sure will be missed. And I would imagine that Billy and his crew are working on ways to make up for some of what they're going to lose with him being out east.
Yeah, it's definitely going to leave a deficit there, and the rebounding, situation for the Bulls. That we are a small team, we're a young team now as well. So there's a lot of inexperience and a lot of kind of gelling of the team that we're hoping to see. We are also expecting to have a slightly less successful season now going forward. Obviously, the aim is not necessarily to win a championship right now or even get close, but it's concentration is going to be a lot on the development of these young guys. How do you see that kind of playing out?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't know that I have a great answer. Obviously, nobody in the organization, including AK and others, are ever going to say, "Hey, our goal is to lose games to get a better draft pick to increase." But there is a way that this game is played, and that's to get young and get draft picks and then work your way back to the top of the standings. And certainly no player is ever going to want to go, hey, our goal is not to win this year. Every guy on that team wants to win every single game. And so that's the only way they know how to play. That's how they've gotten as good as they have, with this competitive spirit that no matter what else is happening, they want to win. Now, whether that happens to the level it did last year or the level fans want or the level to get to the play-in or playoffs, I don't know. But I do think this year holds some important things for the Bulls. And you mentioned it a little bit, Neill, and that's development of young talent. Giddey's still super young. Heck, it feels like Kobe and Io have been around forever, but they're still super young. Got Patrick Williams. What's going to happen this year with him? And Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, and they're all like this early 20-somethings who have a lot to prove yet in the NBA, and this is going to be their chance to do it. So I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, I'm going to enjoy my job regardless of what's happening out there. That's always my goal. I'm going to have fun no matter what. But I think we're going to learn a lot about a lot of different players. And ideally, regardless of wins and losses, that helps determine who stays in the future, who goes, who has value, who gets traded, what draft pick we get. And all of that knowledge put together then starts to build the foundation of what everybody hopes would be a championship team again.
Yeah. I think, you mentioned fun there. And I think we are certainly going to see a very, very different style of basketball now in the upcoming season than we have done previously. And I think we could see quite fun, enjoyable, fast tempo basketball. It may not necessarily result in winning basketball, but I think it's going to be quite an enjoyable watch. We've got players that are going to be quite explosive, going to be trying new things. And like I said, I expect it to be played at a high pace. So apart from that, making your job that little bit more kind of difficult because you're going to try and keep up that little bit more, I think it's a good thing, right?
Absolutely. You're right. DeMar, as good as he was, slowed things down. Andre Drummond generally didn't play fast. He was just that kind of guy who couldn't. So, but now when you've got the Julian Phillips and the Dalen Terry and Io and those types of guys who are all super athletic, super quick, it will be a fun brand to watch. And I'll have to pay attention maybe a little faster than normal, but I'm ready for that. That's for sure.
There was one time Andre Drummond was particularly quick down the floor, of course.
I almost mentioned that.
Yeah. He was pretty quick there behind Torrey Craig anyway.
Torrey Craig can now throw lobs to himself. So
right, exactly.
Take solace in that.
Exactly that. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit fun, if you don't mind, if you can humor us.
Sure.
We have listened to, we followed the Olympics, and we listened to a lot of people butchering names throughout the course of the Olympics. Now, I don't know if that annoys you as much as it annoys us. I would think that maybe privately it could do. But there's mispronunciations the whole time going on. So knowing that is something that you're a real stickler for, we're going to do a little segment now that we're going to call Pronunciations with Tim, because you are a pro.
Welcome to Pronunciations with me, Tim Sinclair.
So I'm going to throw up a few names onto the screen, and I just want you to clarify how to correctly pronounce them.
It's pronounced correctly. There you go.
Thank you. We're off to a flyer. Right, okay, here we go. So we'll start off with a few Bulls players, and then I'll throw in a few other players from around the league.
All right, yeah, there's lots of different versions of this, and this does, because there are people in Chicago, like professionals in Chicago, who still say his name wrong. It's Nikola Vucevic. So there's a CH sound twice in his last name. Nikola Vucevic.
Perfect.
Not Vucevic, not Nikola or Vukovic. I've heard all sorts of different names, but Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah, I often wonder how it goes from Vucevic to Vuce. We all call him Vuce. Yes. Surely correct. If it was Vucevic, it would be Vuce. Right.
Agreed, 100%.
Perfect. Next one.
Okay. I haven't gotten to say his name professionally yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's Modis Buzelis.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's a pretty easy one. I hope I'm saying it a lot. And we didn't even mention him with the young talent. The new draft pick. I haven't watched him play very much at all. Certainly not in person, but I'm definitely looking forward to having Modis on the court.
Yeah, from what we saw of him in the summer league, he's exciting, and he is definitely explosive and fearless. And I think it's the fearless side of him that really, really interests us, doesn't it, Matt?
Yeah. Obviously, on last week's, I did have a different sort of prediction to many involving Buzelis and Dalen Terry. So I'm still high on him. I'm maybe just not as high as the sort of the hype around him, but still excited to see him play nonetheless.
I think my wish, dream, hope, comp, whatever you want to call it, is Franz Wagner. He has a lot of similar traits to Franz. I watched Franz play at Michigan when I'm calling Illinois games. I did a few of his games in college. And so I think there's some ways that he could become that type of player. Both have that edge to them. You know, tall, lanky, athletic wings who can rebound, but hopefully both shoot. You know, I know that's something Modest is working on. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited for sure.
Definitely. Next one. So.
All right. This is fairly easy. It's Chris Duarte.
Yep.
Got the accent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I had not heard him talk until recently, and I just never, I don't know why, I just didn't expect it. And then I heard his accent and it was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. But I'd never heard it until not very long ago. I think the Bulls posted something on social.
Next one.
Yes. The big controversy of 2023 and 24, I guess, a little bit. Onaralp, you'd think that would be the hard one, but it's not. Onaralp, and then it's Batim. So emphasis is on the last syllable of his last name, and I'm not just saying that because my name is Tim. It is literally Onaralp Batim.
Perfect. Yeah, we certainly were determined to get that right, because when he was first signed with the Bulls, Matt got in contact with a guy from Turkey and asked him for the correct pronunciation of it, because we wanted to make sure we were getting it right. And yeah, it was, as you said there, perfect. Okay, so this is our last Bulls one now.
Okay.
It's not a player though.
Okay, this Arturis is the one I think everybody's got. And I've heard Karnisovas and Karnisovas. I am told it is Karnisovas. So Arturis Karnisovas.
Perfect.
And I've introduced him several times to lots of people, and he's never corrected me. So I'm assuming we're
okay. Well, there you go then. I'm sure he'd be correcting people with Buzelis as well.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure.
So we'll move outside the Bulls then. There's just three more, and we're going to throw out a few names from around the league, that one of which annoyed us during the Olympics, and the other two just because they're new players, right?
Okay.
So the one from the Olympics, and I don't understand how anyone could get it wrong, seeing as he is the big name in basketball right now.
Yes. Okay. So this one's interesting because player and Vucevic have said publicly that their first names are pronounced the same. But when they say them, it does not sound like they're pronounced the same. So instead of Nikola, which is Vucevic, it's Nikola and Jokic. So the C becomes a CH again. It's Nikola Jokic.
Perfect. Because I don't know if it was the same in the States when you were watching the Olympics, if you were watching it at all. But the commentary from over here, it was Jokic.
Oh, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and we've got a Nikola Jovic in the league now too, and a Nikola Vucevic and a Nikola Jokic. It gets real confusing real fast if any two of those three are on the court at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so two of the newer players then.
Okay, so the only time I've had to do this is for the 2K video game, and we had to say it while we were recording for that. And it's Zachary Risache. So you can French it up a little bit if you want it. I think they were wanting us to do Zachary Risache or something, but Zachary Risache is the correct pronunciation.
Perfect. And the last one then is get it up there. There we go.
Oh, yeah. So I've said this once for the 2K games as well, and I believe, and I'm 98% on this, I believe it's Tijan Salon. Or if you want to French it up, you don't even say the N as much. It's Tijan Salon. But that's how we were instructed to say it. I haven't seen the official NBA pronunciation guide on this one, though.
Perfect. Well, thanks
for
clearing that up.
The one that drives me crazy, people still can't say Wembanyama's name correct, which he's like they're saying Wembanyama, and like that. I don't know how people don't get that one right, but it took a while for them to get Giannis as well. So
true, but at least with Wembanyama, it's kind of read as it said, really, you know.
Yes, which makes it even worse that people can't say it right.
But, you know, people get lazy and they just say Wemby anyway, so it's fine.
Correct. That one's fine.
So, go on, Matt.
You mentioned obviously 2K then, and we've spoke to you about it in the past. Is it different now? Obviously, do you just record the new names basically and that's it? Or do you
it's a lot easier. Yeah, a lot easier than that first one. The first one, they needed everything, you know, every stadium, every potential gameplay option, you know, those kinds of things. Now, essentially, we do the new names. So whether it's potential draft picks, new draft picks, coaches, etc., and then any new feature that they've added to the game. So this year they're doing a little bit more with All-Star and the three-point shooting competition. So we had to do some of that. Last year they decided to split up every name, so you could choose any first name and any last name and put them together and make it one new player. So before we would do Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, but those were the names you could choose. Now we put enough space in between them that you can do Zach DeRozan or DeMar LaVine, or pick and choose whatever you want. So you can create essentially an infinite number of names. And so that was a new thing they did last year and are furthering the process this year. So it took a little time to go through and make sure those were correct. But it's, you know, instead of 7 days in LA, I was there for, I think for this most recent one, I recorded for like 4 hours and then I was out. So
handy. So with that then, can you know, for the My Player, can you put in your own name and now they'll actually say your name back rather than just MP or whatever it was?
Depends on your name. You can create, there's a lot of names in the system, but it's not like AI to the point that they're getting our voices to repeat whatever you type in. So you can generally get close to whatever your name is, but it's not going to get every single one.
Yeah, it's still pretty cool. It's pretty clever. Like
it amazes me every time I go in there how they put all those pieces together and how it does it on the fly, and especially the play-by-play, which obviously I don't have to do anything with that, but it's incredible what they've been able to do.
Do you ever worry that it gets so advanced that they start using it for actually calling games and you talk yourself out of a job?
Well, my hope is that if they get to the point where they're going to have that happen, that I'm the voice they record to do all those games. So I keep my job, even though I'm not there when it happens. But I think we're a very long way from that.
That's the best case scenario, right? You get the royalties without doing the work, right?
Correct. If we could work on that, that'd be great.
So looking forward to the upcoming season then, what is it that excites you and that you're looking forward to personally about it?
You know, that's a good question. I always go into games planning to enjoy myself and have fun, regardless of a win or a loss. Obviously, it's better to win. Everybody wants to win, but it's pretty rare that I go into a season looking forward to wins or losses. Like I don't think of seasons that way. I think of it in terms of crowd experience and what we can do as entertainment teams to really help people have a great time regardless of what's happening on the court. Now, obviously my job is to do some of that too. But going into this season, you know, I don't try to put I don't have a game in my head like, oh, when we play Golden State or when we play Dallas or whoever, that's one I'm really looking forward to. Although I love watching Luka and Steph and everybody play, I just focus as much as I can on one, doing a great job, not making it about me, and helping the people who are in the stadium, and then those who are watching on television who are getting various feeds that involve my voice, hopefully helping them have a great time. And if I can do that, then to me, that's a successful season for me. I can't control what happens on the court. I can't control what moves are made or aren't made. But what I can control is how I present those to our audience, and how I do all the little things in between. And when people put their phones up for the starting lineups, Neill, you were there as that happened. Yep. Like, those are my 73 seconds to hopefully leave people with a memory that they're going to have for a long, long time. And so that's the kind of stuff that I really look forward to, is the human experience part. Like, the game, these are back-to-back games for me. All right. In 1995, I sat in the back row, literally last row of the 300 section of the United Center with some people from my hometown. We drove a couple hours to see Michael and everybody play that year. The next game I was at after that game was sitting front row calling the starting lineups. Like, those were back-to-back Bulls games for me. And so I think, if anything, that helps me realize that most people don't get to go to very many. And so the experience they have and what they remember in a week or a year or 10 years or 30 years is probably not going to be a win or a loss, unless it's a playoff game or something like that. It's probably going to be that overall experience of the starting lineups and the running of the Bulls and the dance teams, all those things that make a game what it is, in addition to the play. So this is a long answer to a short question, but that's how I go into every season, and hopefully winning comes with it. But my focus is on all the other things.
Do you find it a little bit, well, or how do you find it, should I say, people coming up and wanting photos with you? Because obviously you're just at the UC doing your job, and obviously I know Neill got one, and I know there's been other people go over in the past from here that have been, I want to meet Tim. Is that like a bit of a surreal sort of feeling for you, because you literally the voice, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's never a bad thing. I always think and I will make time whenever humanly possible to take pictures or talk or sign autographs or whatever with anybody who asks. It's not always possible, but I try to make it possible for a couple of reasons. One, I know that's special to some people. It's their opportunity. And so I want to help give them a great experience. And if taking a picture or talking for a few minutes is part of that, I'm 100% in. Two, selfishly for me, it's an indication that I'm doing something right. Most jobs have a way that you can measure your success. If you own a grocery store, it might be the bottom line at the end of the week. Hey, we made a profit this week. If you're in sales, it's how many sales did I make? If it's you're making widgets, it's did I make 100 or 1,000 or whatever they asked me to do? Did we get that done? In a performative job like I have, it's so subjective, and so how you're doing a good job is when people tell you that you're doing a good job or that they enjoy what you're doing. And so for me, that helps me to go, hey, I'm on the right track, or what I'm doing is being appreciated. And I realize most people aren't going to walk up to your face and tell you suck if that's what they think. So that's not the end all be all, but it is nice to know that what you're doing is making a difference and that there are people out there who appreciate it. So yes, it's surreal. Like, never in a million years would I have ever thought that this is something that I'd be getting to even see a couple of times a year, much less do every single night. But I was in the right place at the right time, and I've worked really hard, and all that kind of came together and allowed me to do what I do, and I'm eternally grateful.
Plus, it's
you must be doing something right, because you've been asked to do all-star games and things like NBA 2K. So you must be ticking the boxes for somebody somewhere, right?
Hey, as long as I can keep fooling people, don't tell anyone different. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Oh, obviously there's a load of new players coming in through the rookie class. Obviously you watch quite a lot of college basketball through calling the Illinois games. Is there any players from this draft class that you've seen and you're looking forward to?
Yeah, a lot of them, as we noticed during the draft, a lot of them were overseas players, at least overseas for us in the U.S. So a lot of them I have not seen in person. There were a few. I did the Champions Classic this last year, which was Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, and Michigan State, and there were a number of Duke, Kentucky, and Kansas players specifically who were drafted, Reed Shepherd and some others. So it will be interesting for me to see, because at the time you might hear that they're a potential draft pick, but that's like one of the very first games of the college season, and a lot of those guys are freshmen. So you don't necessarily think of them in terms of NBA. You might go, "Ooh, they showed a flash," or "I see some potential." So yeah, there's probably 5 to 7 guys I've seen in person, and a few others who've come through Illinois, like Zach Edey, for example. I've called his games out of Purdue for a long time. Will he translate to the NBA? Boy, that's the $1 million question. I don't know. Height translates. He's very good at being tall, but will he be very good at running the 5 on an NBA court where everybody's very mobile and very quick, and big men need to be able to shoot for the most part? There are a few exceptions. That intrigues me. I wouldn't say I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch him play, but I will be very interested to see if that part of his game translates. Minnesota's pick in the first round of Terrence Shannon Jr. I called his games at Illinois for a couple of years. Boy, he looked really good in summer league, and he obviously looked really good for Illinois too. So if there's anybody I can't wait to see play, it's him. That's more selfishly speaking, just because I've gotten to call his games in college, but I think he's going to be one of the better equipped to have early success in the NBA, just because he's 4 or 5 years older than a lot of these other draft picks.
He's lightning quick too.
Yeah, he's a freight train, man. He doesn't like Io could get to the basket, but he got early on he was getting blocked at the rim a lot because he just wasn't going up strong or wasn't big enough to use his body to get in the right position. Terrence, I'm sure it'll happen from time, but he's a big guy, and he's fully developed, and I think he'll have a lot more early success than some others may have.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was about Shannon Jr. So you've covered that one now. But yeah, he was somebody that I wouldn't have minded Bulls. I know obviously he was a lot lower, but I think I was one of a lot of Bulls Nation that fancied him for Bulls at 11. But
yeah, I would have loved to see it. So I guess we'll see. Now he and Anthony Edwards will be on the same team, and they're both a couple pretty ethnic dudes. So the Timberwolves got a good one, and I'm just thrilled for TJ that he's in a spot that I think he can thrive, and I just hope he doesn't thrive too often against the Bulls.
Yeah. Which is often the way with a hometown boy, right?
Yeah, how it goes.
Okay, so we've mentioned the fact that there's a few new players, and we've talked about pronunciations and things like that. But have you thought about how you're going to actually call these players' names in the starting lineup should they get onto the starting lineup at any point throughout the course of the season, like the likes of Buzelis and even like somebody maybe Duarte or Giddy or any of the players that you haven't had a chance to call in the starting lineup yet?
Not for a second, but that's for a reason. And I get the question a lot. But I am a firm believer in the importance of authenticity in any sort of performative job, and especially in this one. it is obvious to me, and I believe it is obvious to fans, when someone behind a microphone is being a paid cheerleader or a paid actor for their team. Sometimes it works, and sometimes that's what teams want, but it is definitely not what I want and what I'm comfortable doing. And I do think you gain some respect, and you gain some credibility, and you gain long-term fans when they know that you are one of them, and you're not just going to fake being excited or fake whatever, or be so rehearsed in what you do that you're not taking into account what's happening in the arena, what the fans are doing, what the moment requires. So when it comes to starting lineups, I've not gone back and listened to it, although I did in 2K, to what DeMar DeRozan call was his first game compared to what it became later in his career. Io, same way. If you listen to my first call of Io at Illinois, it would not be what you hear today at the Bulls games. But somewhere in that first year or so, Io Dosumu became Io Dosumu because he did something big, he did something great. People went crazy, and I went with him.
Right.
And all of a sudden, that takes on a life of its own. DeMar DeRozan was DeMar DeRozan, and then it became DeMar DeRozan, and that became a thing. And so I don't want to be so pigeonholed into what I've practiced in my bathroom or in my car or while I'm mowing the lawn, that when I get into a game, I'm doing what I've rehearsed rather than doing what's required in that moment. So it may feel to some like overthink it, but I'm really trying to do the opposite and underthink it and go, I'm going to let the atmosphere and my own natural reaction do the work. And that over time will become a thing if it's supposed to become a thing. Single syllable names are hard. Like, I hate them. It's just difficult to make them interesting. So then you have to figure out, like, Josh, that's tough to do anything with Josh, right? But Kobe White is a single syllable, so he became just very repetitive. Kobe White, and all of a sudden, now you've got something. Orlando Ball, and it becomes. I haven't done that one in forever.
Yeah, I know.
So
you'll get the chance again, though. Apparently,
I hope, man. I'm hoping so. I can't wait. So again, long answer to a short question, but my goal is always to be authentic and natural and appreciative of what's happening, and then my part will fit into that without sounding, ideally, rehearsed or fake or just being a paid cheerleader.
So we'd be useless to you then. My name, of course, is Neill Dunn, and my colleague over here, his name's Matt Hearn. So
I won't say useless. I would say a challenge.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so I know we've been doing something else that's a bit fun. We did it last year and the year before as well with you, I think. I'll let Matt run you through it.
Yeah, we gave our predictions last week for the C-Red UK Awards. Before that, we got Tony Gill's predictions as well. And obviously, we like to get every guest's prediction. So you got to put your microphone aside and put your fan hat on. Obviously, so you don't get in too much trouble if anyone's listening. But yeah, 3 categories, just obviously all Bulls related. And the first one is who do you think is going to be the Bulls' unsung hero? And this one seems to confuse people, the meaning of it. But it's basically the player that just goes under the radar but stands out at the same time.
Yeah. My first, I want to see if my first inclination is the one I want to stick with. My first inclination might be Io. I think he has a lot of similarities to Caruso and how he looks at the game and thinks about the game. He's the son of a coach. So while he hasn't necessarily had the opportunity to be a coach on the floor as much, I think he has a lot of those qualities, and he certainly has the brain to back it up. And he's a hustler. He'll get on the floor. He'll get in passing lanes. But I don't see him being the star or the one who gets all the headlines. So, yeah, I think I'll go with Io as he'll get his flowers, he'll get credit, but on a nightly basis, I think he's the one who's going to get a lot of stuff done that the box score doesn't necessarily reflect.
Yes, I agree with that. To be fair, the next one is Bulls most improved.
Ooh. I have a few people that I hope it is. The question is, will they? I hope it's Patrick Williams. I think it will be Julian Phillips.
Yeah.
But it could be both. That would be great.
Both would be great. Yeah, we'll take both.
Yeah.
That's the thing with having such a young core now. It could literally be anybody, and you want it to be anybody.
There's lots of people, but I think Dalen, to be fair, has the most room from where he is to what his expectations kind of have been. I mean, I guess you could argue that about Patrick too, but he's been around longer. But I'll stick with my hope is Patrick, and my bet, so to speak, is Julian.
Yeah. And the last one and the biggest one, Bulls MVP.
Well, that depends on the trade deadline now, doesn't it? I mean, I would really like it to be Kobe White. Yeah. And I'll let that say everything else. But yeah, let's go with Kobe White.
Yeah. Kobe's been the most popular one from members of the C-Reg UK group, and because we put this up in the Discord and on Twitter as well, and that's been kind of the general consensus. It has been Kobe White. So let's hope that's what we get to see.
Well, I think it needs to be, given the Bulls' plans and sort of the way they're trying to shape this season and the direction they're trying to head. I think it needs to be, but whether it is or not, we got 82 games to find out.
Right. I think he's going to benefit with Giddey as well. There's been people worrying that the ball is going to come back out of Kobe's hands, but I think, he's nearly better as a catch and shoot kind of dynamic scorer that way, as opposed to trying to create for himself as much as he has been and expected to last season.
Well, and to know he knows he can, but
exactly.
I also think it's important that he knows he doesn't have to. And I honestly feel the same way about Zach. Like Zach can, but if he was just allowed and was comfortable with being a spot up shooter, he's a deadly spot up shooter, and then he can go to the hole when people cheat out on him, and then he's incredibly athletic, as we all know. So and that's why I think Lonzo was so successful when he first came, was he was the one who got to do the ball handling and distribute to when people were open rather than forcing them to create their own shot. So whether it's Lonzo, whether it's Giddey, or a combination, or Io, or whoever's doing that, I think Kobe and Zach should, in theory, both benefit.
Yeah. So did you want to ask the fourth one, Matt?
Yeah, one that we started last week, and I kind of asked you about the rookies that you're watching, but is there a Bulls player that like your player to watch, basically, for any reason?
Let's see. There've been a few. I mean, it was DeMar. I think he would have been my easy answer in the past. just because he was so freaking dependable and, just excellent at his craft. Now, I would say at times it's Zach, at times it's Kobe. I'm very much looking forward to watching Matas play because of what I saw in Summer League and because of what everybody says about his fire. And he sounds and it feels like a fun player to watch. And I know there's going to be mistakes and he's a rookie. And so that, those things are going to happen. But if you're asking me who I'm most looking forward to this season, it's probably Matas. Just because I haven't seen him much before. I've heard so many great things, and he has that edge about him, that fearless, I'm going to go after you, doesn't matter who you are kind of thing. And that's always fun to watch, regardless of how it ends.
Do you know what I'm actually looking forward to with Matas is his, if he gets to the stage where they decide to give him a mic'd up session. Because if he talks the trash the way we've heard he talks trash, I think that would be a really entertaining listen.
Probably gonna have to get that bleep button ready, but
right.
Yeah, and obviously you're gonna have a front row seat to it.
Yeah. Well, I'll be able to hear some of it without the bleep.
yeah, you'll be mic'd up the whole time with him.
yeah. So that would be interesting. We'll see how brave they get.
Absolutely. But listen, Tim, is there anything else that you want to tell us about what you've got coming up or that you're involved in? Or
are you guys, I know this isn't a Bears podcast, but the Bears are playing in London in October. Are you guys gonna get to go?
No. With living in Ireland, it would cost me an awful lot. It'd nearly be as easy for me to go over to the States to watch and play. The prices, when there's stuff like that on, the prices go through the roof. We've just witnessed it with a band in the last week. I don't know if you're aware of them. They didn't really break the US the way they broke the UK and Ireland and Europe, but a band called Oasis.
Yeah, I know them.
Yeah, well, Oasis just reformed after 15 years, and there's absolute killings over here about ticket prices and everything like that. So it's gone nuts.
The reason I bring it up is I'm calling that game at Tottenham, so I will be in London to call that game, and so that's a 1 week trip because I'm doing some stuff for the Bears and for the NFL the week leading up to it, and then I'll call the game on Sunday, and I'll miss the very first Bulls preseason game on the 12th because I'll be in London doing Bears stuff. So it's a small price to pay. I hate missing games, but it seems like a good reason. So I'll be over there for a bit.
Yeah. Seems like a good deal. Maybe Matt, maybe you could try and meet up with him. You like going down to London, don't you?
Oh, God, no. Can't stand the place. Where I am now. I'm in London.
Oh, you're in London now, are you?
Yeah.
No worries. We can connect on Zoom. It's easier that way.
So I guess it's one thing when you're down visiting in London and you're being kind of, looked after or getting taxis around the place. But Matt drives a big truck, so it's not quite so much fun.
Yeah, I won't. I don't have to worry about a place to stay or a place to park or food or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I get to London and kind of cheat in the process. So I'll take it that way for sure.
So one thing I have heard though is that the Tottenham Stadium is meant to be the best in the country.
I've heard great things. I can't wait to get to be on the speakers there for 3.5 hours. That'll be a lot of fun.
I've been in the shadows of it, but I've never been in it as such. So
I'll take a few pictures and post them so you can see what my view's like once that game rolls around.
Sounds good. And even though we're not going and we're not really NFL fans at all, I know there are a lot of our listeners that are and that are interested in going or are going. So I'm sure if any of them get the opportunity to say hi, they should definitely come over and say hi to you, right?
Definitely come up and say hello. That'd be amazing.
Perfect. Who is actually going to call the first preseason game in your place? Do you know?
I don't. I typically it's the guy who does Windy City Bulls. So G League team, but I don't know that for sure. I've let the Bulls know, so they're aware. But beyond that, I'm not sure.
Very good. I'm sure anyone that's going to that one game will miss you anyway.
It's always good to be missed, but we're flying back on Monday after the game, and we have our opening night rehearsal that night here in the States. So I'm going to get off a plane and go right to our rehearsal. And then I've got Tuesday as an off day, but then I've got events, including 2 Bulls games, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'm going to be a tired little public address announcer by the end of those 2 weeks, but it's worth it. So I won't complain too loudly.
Would they ever trust? I can't remember his name, slipped my mind, but the guy who does the break entertainment. I can't remember what his name is. Bugging me.
Oh, like Todd?
That's it. Yeah, Todd. Obviously, he's just his energy is like.
Oh yeah.
Do you think they trust him to do it?
I don't. but I don't know. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but I don't think that's there's like the in break stuff from my seat wouldn't be a problem. It's the calling a game part might be the difficult piece to learn on the fly. But it's preseason, like what's for practice for everyone, right? So maybe they'll get creative. I don't know. I've always said you want backups to be good, but not too good.
Right.
So whoever they choose.
The thing with Todd as well is I don't know if he could stay sitting down in his seat the whole time. He's just a big bundle of energy. He just keeps moving.
Yeah, he probably needs to be on his feet, moving around if possible.
Yeah, so. yeah. Serious energy. He's brilliant. Okay, well, listen, Tim, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on with us. It's great to actually get to see your face, and for others that don't get to see you, but just get to hear your voice. Anyone that's tuning in gets to see you too, which is great. We always enjoy having you on and having a chat with you. It's been absolutely brilliant. And please don't be a stranger. We hope to see you again soon. And maybe I'll meet up with you in October too.
Yeah, it'd be great. I look forward to seeing you guys in person or via video, however that looks. And I appreciate you having me on. I'm happy to do it anytime.
Yeah, Thanks so much.
Yeah, welcome back. And obviously, big thanks to Tim Sinclair. Honestly, is one of the nicest people we've had the pleasure of having on the pod. Obviously, you had the pleasure of meeting him, and is literally somebody that we could talk to for hours. But we are aware there's only certain things we can ask him as well, and or that he can tell us whilst being recorded. Anyway, should I say?
Yeah.
But no, honestly, he's genuinely one of the nicest people to have spoke to, and like I say, you had the pleasure of meeting him, so I'm sure you can vouch for that in person as well.
Absolutely, absolute gent.
Yeah, and obviously, so gracious with his time and everything like that. He's a very busy man. He was rushing off to do something amazing that didn't involve talking. After he'd spoke to us, giving himself a little bit of voice rest, maybe ahead of the Bears season starting this weekend. So yeah, I've got nothing else. I don't know if you have.
No, nothing else at all. Just always enjoy chatting away to Tim.
Yeah, obviously we're at that point in the off season where there's not a lot to talk about. So I won't promise we'll be back next week. We are trying to sort out some more guests and stuff like that. So possibly have a guest if we are back. Might decide to have a week off. Who knows? But the only way you'll find out is by checking in with us and subscribing to YouTube and the audios and everywhere else. But until then, I've been Matt, and you can find me on Twitter at MattCRedUK, and you can find us on all the socials at CRedUK.
And you'll find me on Twitter at NeillCRedUK. On behalf of Matt, myself, and the Fans First Sports Network, and of course, Tim Sinclair, thanks once again to everyone for tuning in. From us both, do remember it's a Chicago Bulls thing wherever in the world you are. Until next time, see red people and go Bulls.